Hello, and welcome to my shot-by-shot review of the announcement trailer for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Now, surely some of you are typing right now, Grace, how can you make a shot-by-shot analysis for a trailer that hardly shows anything? But I think that by the time we're done, you'll realize, like I did when I was going through this to see if I missed anything, that they actually show quite a lot. Because you know J.K. Rowling, she is certainly one for detail. So before we get started though, I want to quote a BTT viewer who wrote this over on my initial review of the trailer. This is Pandora Tello, and Pandora said, "I forgot how much I liked the Harry Potter movies and books, and from this trailer, it made me miss that world and want to go back." Smiley face. And Warner Brothers is like, "Squee, yes, come back, come back." We don't have our Lord of the Rings franchise anymore, and we're a little worried about DC. It looks good so far, fingers crossed, but Harry Potter is very important to us. And I think it looks like they're giving it the royal treatment. I think they've actually upped their game, which is very exciting. But I wanted to say, to quote Pandora there, because I, too, have not been feeling the love for this movie over the past couple of months. I mean, it's been on my radar, but I've been like, oh yeah, that's coming out too. But we've been paying much more attention, of course, to all the comic book movies. This movie hadn't really taken shape yet. But now, seeing it here, and it's just like being plunged back, not even back into the world of Harry Potter. I feel for some reason like I'm going deeper into it. Speaking, Pandora is a good name for this because I feel like they've opened Pandora's box, or Newt Scamander's case, and just let this world just explode around us. And that is very appealing. And there just seems to be this trailer, again, even though it doesn't show very much, and we're going to discuss what it does, I think that it hints at so much more. There's like a feeling of like such world building and such depth already that I'm very intrigued. I'm very, very intrigued. And again, I hadn't anticipated to like this so much, and now this is actually one of the top movies I'm looking forward to in 2016. But Pandora, thanks for writing that. I think you captured it quite well. All right, let's get started. Now, I just love the way this trailer opens. It's so incredibly charming. What I like about this is he's using a spell that we all know, Lumus Maxima, but it's like he's lighting a candle almost. It has that gentleness, and so I love that so much. But you're mixing magic with like an everyday activity, and also everyone loves when people light candles in movies about old time stuff, England, like Scrooge. So it just was really charming. I love it. Now we're gonna pause right here, actually. All right, I've got my extensive notes here, just because again, J.K. Rowling, certainly one for the detail, but this is the Magical Congress of the United States of America. But what's interesting about this, and this is one of our new American wizards, this is Katherine Waterston as Porpentina. Why do you make things such tongue twisters, J.K.? But she's an American character and an American governing body. But what's interesting to me is that this looks exactly like the House of Commons. I think, and that's the UK governing body. I think it's very interesting. For the most part, they've done a nice job capturing the American flavor with this trailer, and this is mostly a UK team, filmmaking team. But this is the one area where I'm like, that's weird. Why would you model the Magical Congress of the United States of America so directly off of the House of Commons? And also I got very nervous at first. I was like, that looks like a little bit like a Nazi flag, considering the time period and the red banner hanging down. I'm like, that's a weird choice. Maybe I would have gone with a different color. But luckily, as we're about to see, it's not what it is. But I think it's also very interesting that she has a case here. Is she going to pull the old switcheroo on Newt? Or perhaps she's already gotten it. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Maybe all wizards carry a case, but I don't think so. I like Katherine Waterston here much more than I had anticipated. I've not been a fan of hers. I guess because I saw her in Inherent Vice, and that movie was a chore. All right, so let's keep going here. 2016. Still magical. All right, now this is fascinating. This is actually a person that she's talking to, but it looks like a statue. In fact, it reminds me a little bit of the Statue of Liberty, of course, an iconic symbol of New York City and America. And then, of course, the Porpentina character, that's right, Porpentina, what a crazy name. Tina for short, though, I think I'll be using that. But Tina's standing on a pentagram, which is often associated with magic, although not always in the best way. So we'll see. I get a sense, I don't know about you, but I get a sense of like mischief afoot, or maybe even worse than mischief, evil. Like, forget the beasts, although obviously they're a big part of the movie, and not ready yet from the visual effects team, or else maybe we would have seen one. But I feel like maybe there's some human problems afoot, and there's like some kind of intrigue, I guess is the right word. And so I'm very curious to see how that develops. I get the feeling that maybe someone intentionally let a creature out of Newt Scamander's case. Let's see. But that looks really cool. Now this is Carmen Ejogo. I believe I'm pronouncing her name correctly. And she looks beautiful. She looks absolutely stunning. That's a great outfit. So that's who she's talking to from the front. Very well styled. And then you can see a little bit more of the Magical Congress of the United States of America's symbol there. The flag incorporated with the eagle. They got all the U.S. symbolism in there. But also for some reason, some kind of like throne style. It's like very much a mix of the U.K. and America. Maybe because, these people are coming from the UK. That's what you're kind of dealing with. Like, they've emigrated, so they've brought some of that culture with them, perhaps. Maybe that's what they're going for. They're like, we like the House of Commons. We have a lot of respect for it. Let's set up our own over here in the United States. Maybe that's what it is. But that's a really cool outfit, and I feel like it's also very time appropriate to the era that this takes place. There's a great sense not only of New York City, but of the time period. But this actress, you've seen her in films like The Purge, Anarchy, and stuff. So with all due respect to her, I think it's very interesting that for this movie, while they went with like the best and most respected UK actors they could find for the Harry Potter films, when they come over across the pond to the United States, they're not casting with the same level of, I guess you could say, prestige, right? I mean, maybe Carmen Ejogo will prove that she should have been getting great parts all along. I hope so. But they haven't really gone for the same caliber of actor, which I find very interesting indeed. Also, though, we haven't really seen any beautiful witches, right, in the world of Harry Potter. You have wonderful teaching staff that we've come to love at Hogwarts, but this is a different way to go. I mean, you're leaving the students and teachers dynamic behind, and you're seeing adults operating in the real wizarding world with different jobs, and you lose a little bit of the cozy factor, and I think you pick up a little bit of the cool, elegant factor, which I'm okay with that trade. But she looks great. She looks also very concerned. I'm getting a little Glinda the Good Witch vibe from her for some reason. She's like, not a suitcase. Where's the magical TSA? I like that J.K. Rowling got such a nice credit there. They're like, writer J.K. Rowling. I'm like, she's probably making so much money off of this. She already has a ton of money, so it's fine. But she deserves it. She deserves every penny. I think she does a really good job creating this world. Now, who doesn't love old-fashioned New York scenes, right? I mean, they do a great job, setting up the city, and we've seen it a lot, but there's just something there is still a coziness to this, and I'm very impressed with the set design. I think it looks really, really convincing, very good. This looks very New York 1920s to me. I think it looks spectacular. The year is actually 1926 here. Okay. Now there's this case. By the way, let's go back to that, actually. You see this case here? This is from a scene that we've seen some of the photos from Entertainment Weekly when they put out those photos from filming. And we talk all the time about a movie needing to have its production schedule set up so that some of the first footage that they shoot is usable for a trailer to promote the movie. You want to shoot some good stuff first so it can be ready for an announcement trailer, right? Warner Brothers, you came up with something new. I like it. But anyway, so this is a good example of that. They started shooting and they already knew what they wanted to, how they maybe wanted to promote it, or they have a very good promotional team. They cut together what they have so far very well, but they've done a very good job here of shooting just enough so they can get this trailer out pretty much a year in advance, and it looks very, very good. And with enough time to give it to their visual effects team to add these visual effects. But they could have been working on that title sequence for quite some time, and then just had to add the wand effect that we're going to see toward the end. But it's very, very good. So good job. So nice to see a publicity department doing what they're supposed to. I do want to return. All right. All right there. that's Colin Farrell. I'm very curious. I got the idea that he's investigating here, perhaps, right? Or perhaps he let the beast out of the case. Maybe it was him. But I think it's funny here is that we've seen Colin Farrell do this sort of role in this sort of setting so many times. It's like, wow, deja vu. But now it's magical Colin Farrell doing the same thing that he always does. So I'm curious to see if it helps the movie, because people are like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. It's instant recognition. Or does it maybe bring the movie down a little bit because people are like, I've seen this before and I've rejected it before. So it'll be interesting to see if Colin Farrell was a good choice for this. I love Colin Farrell. I think he's a great actor. I think he's a really wonderful person in real life. I would love to see him succeed, but I think his batting record is poor. But then also just the design here with the bent up fire escape and the way that window, the shingles there on that, I forget the word for it, but it looks really cool. It's just very, very good production design. A little theme parky, and of course, this maybe eventually will become a theme park because the Wizarding World has been so lucrative for Universal Studios. Florida, and now, of course, very soon in April, Hollywood. But this looks great. This looks like New York Street. And they already have New York Street at these amusement parks for Universal Studios, so they can easily kind of just off to the edge of it, build another Harry Potter section. But it looks great. Especially if a lot of that is green screen. Very well animated. Now, Wizarding World, important branding. That's what this is now called, J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, because that implies beyond Harry Potter, which you're seeing right now. All right. Now this is great. Now this is interesting to me. I just recently saw The Danish Girl, and Eddie Redmayne was amazing in it. But he left behind Stephen Hawking, but I still see Lily when I see him now. I don't know if it's because I just saw The Danish Girl, or because perhaps he hasn't made strong enough choices to change things up from Lily. I think there's like similarities between his Newt Scamander and his Einar from The Danish Girl. I'm curious, for those people who've seen The Danish Girl, do you kind of get the same feeling? And also, even when he was casting the spell in the beginning, the hushed whisper, that was a lot how the same way Lily spoke in The Danish Girl. When he tried to be transgender, obviously you have to see the movie, but Lily was the person that he became, and over the course of the film, you really felt, to Redmayne's credit, that he was Lily, that Lily was not only the person he wanted to be, but who he should be. So that was such a strong transformation process to see. I still kind of see Lily when I see and listen or hear Eddie Redmayne, and I'm curious to see how that will affect not only this movie, but his career going forward. Because someone said to me, well, why don't you see Stephen Hawking, right? Well, Stephen Hawking was much different choices, but again, there's similarities there seem, at least so far, between the two characters here. So I'm curious. I'm very curious to see how this plays out, and if that role will follow Eddie Redmayne, well as Stephen Hawking. I mean, even when he was playing young Stephen Hawking, there was just, it's interesting. I think that, it's not like he's running in the opposite direction here or another direction, a totally different direction. I do see a lot of shades of Lily here, which I think is to the credit also of his performance in The Danish Girl, to be fair, that he did such a good job creating that character that I believe that she was real. And I think that hair looks bad. I like that he checks it and looks up. That's great. And then there's Tina. And she's asking him, oh, so, was it open? Did, something get out? I guess they're going to start working together. Although you would think maybe that big hole in the wall would have told them, but who knows? Who knows? She looks cool. I like her costume design quite a bit as well. I think the darker hair and eyebrows work very well for her. By the way, if you don't know who Katherine Waterston is, she is Sam Waterston's daughter, that guy who, of course, is so well known for his decades on Law and Order. And I liked when he says, just a smidge. That line I really, really liked. That was so charming. That was so British. I just really thought it was fantastic. I really liked it a lot. I guess I feel a real British-American dynamic between these two characters, and it'll be funny to see that play out. Also, this is not the kind of setting, I guess this is like where Harry Potter kind of started out, right, under the stairs. But this is a very, we're used to seeing such opulent surroundings most of the time for our Harry Potter-esque characters. So it's, again, out in the real world where not everybody gets a great, awesome boarding room, right, at school. And I'm also very curious to what this book is. Nothing here should be by accident. We don't get a close enough look at it. It's got a piece of paper tucked into it, so we'll see what Newt is reading. I'm also, this case is very interesting. I bet you see a lot of Newt Scamanders in Halloween because it's a very distinctive look, and actually it's a pretty easy look, I think, to duplicate. But it's a little bit like the male Mary Poppins to some degree, which I don't think anybody would mind. Now this, loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. This is so great. Now we've seen actually also this scene being filmed in the Entertainment Weekly photos. But when you put in the visual effects, it just looks so enchanting. And as I said in my first initial review, he almost is taking on a dueling, stance with swords. And that's, very, very impressive that they would incorporate that into using your wand, right? It makes sense. Sword, wand, very similar in the way you hold them, probably maybe in the way you use them. So that real world grounding just makes it seem all the more real. And I'm very, very impressed with it. I think the look on Eddie Redmayne's face is amazing. He looks like he's about to, either do battle or catch something if it's a fantastic beast. I think that's very, very cool. And I just think his body language is very, very impressive. Even beyond taking the dueling stance, I think that the movements are very sharp, very specific, and I always appreciate that from everything from fight choreography. I guess this is fight choreography to some degree, but I like it when actors make specific, sharp choices because they come across that much clearer to the audience. So really fantastic. And that's Dan, let me make sure I get that right, Dan Fogler behind him. I can't believe Dan Fogler is in this movie. Like, you get like the best of the best in the UK, and then Dan Fogler comes into your American version. But again, I'm excited for Dan Fogler to prove that was a good idea. But he certainly looks like Newt's sidekick there running after him with that case. A lot of people have cases in this movie, but I just absolutely think this is fantastic. Also, you're seeing the use of magic out in public. I'm very curious how that will play out, and if they have to wipe everybody's memory after that, because I believe that's a pretty big no-no. But that just looks absolutely fantastic. Also, a lot of people said, "Oh, is that Maggie Smith's character yelling out, Mr. Scamander?" No, it's Tina. It's Tina for sure. But she does have a little bit of that vibe, I think, a little bit Maggie Smith-esque, and maybe that's one of the reasons they cast her. But that looks just great. And also, very clever. You get so much out of that shot, but it's not a huge visual effect. So very smart on Warner Brothers' part. Then you've got the logo, super magical. And look at that. I just think that looks so great. They always focus so much on the lightning bolt when it came to the Harry Potter logo, but I love this kind of like blue magical energy. I think they should have cut that and Where to Find Them. Just should have called it Fantastic Beasts. But as some of you pointed out, they made Fantastic Beasts just really large because they know that that's how everyone's going to shorten it. And they're like, "Are you excited?" And I'm like, "I am excited." November 2016. Oh, it's going to make so much money. David Yates directing, and then you see the usual names up here: David Heyman, J.K. Rowling, and producing. And I'm curious, I will be seeing this in 3D, by the way, for sure. But J.K. Rowling is taking on such a larger role in the movies this time around. That's how they got her to agree to do more of them. I'm curious to see if it makes that big of a difference, because I have to say, so far, I think it's making a pretty big difference. And so J.K. Rowling might be headed toward a pretty exciting movie career, where maybe even she would move to directing eventually. That would be very exciting. And I think if I were Warner Brothers, I'd be tempted to let her do it, because she so far is making such a big difference already. All right, so what do you think? Does this look good to you? What do you think? Do you think the shot-by-shot trailer review was necessary? Do you agree with me? Write your thoughts down below, and stay tuned, of course, for much more coverage of this movie and more. And you can watch some more coverage, in fact, right now.